What up, though? What up, though? This your boy, Tay Biz Nation in the house, man. Stand up real quick for your boy, man. Definitely appreciate you jumping on the live with your boy, man. Man, we got a lot to talk about tonight. I kind of flipped the script a little bit, I was going to talk about the Mickey Steins and the transcript and read that. But man, after yesterday, after yesterday, and after all of the things that we have going on right now, just 24 hours ago till now, it's definitely something to talk about when it comes down to the Karen Reed case, man. We got the not guilty verdict that we all wanted, that we all suspect should happen. So that is what's up. All right, that is what's up. And I am so excited and happy because about it. And one of the reasons why is because first of all, I'm excited to see how the defense in the second trial of Karen Reed, how they approached this trial. The first time they were trying to create the idea or present the idea or the theory of that this was a botched investigation that was set up, and he being John O'Keefe was set up by fellow officers of the law due to an altercation, and the altercation led to his death allegedly by Brian Albert, Jim McCabe, and Brian Higgins. I believe Colin Albert, things of that nature. They were trying to insist or imply in the first trial that this was not a case of a tail light hitting this gentleman and knocking him and flying him all the way to a pole, a flagpole in a blizzard at 24 miles an hour backwards, while you're also stating that this young lady was well over the legal limit of drinking. So the first trial, the theory or the defense was trying to let you know, like, hey, this was a setup. This was not Karen Reed's doing. And again, she was found not guilty for counts 1 and I think counts 3, but they were hung on count 2 last year. And so it was a hung jury and it was a mistrial. And then we have the second trial, which we just got finished watching, and going through. The whole nation was watching this trial. And now she's been exonerated from everything. And also the lesser included, they was all able to come to the agreement that she should be charged with OUI at best. So you spent, Commonwealth, you spent over $1 million, almost $1 million or more on this case just to get operating under the influence conviction. I mean, that is not good. As a matter of fact, the Commonwealth have crashed this entire yeah, it was a crash, burn. I'm pretty sure that Hank Brennan is going to have to figure out something else to do right now. They paid him well over 6 figures on this case. They spent $400,000 plus on the reconstructionist Judd Welchler. They also spent more money on the 17 years of degree Shannon Burgess. You see, and they spent collectively, the Commonwealth spent about $1 million of the taxpayers' money in that particular area just to get a conviction of basically a DUI, right? So a $1 million DUI or $1 million OUI is what the people had to spend. And a lot of the people who were supporting Karen Reed are also the people who want to seek justice for John O'Keefe, because again, he is a fellow Boston police officer who was found found in front of the lawn of another police officer, retired cop by the name of Brian Albert, laid out there in the cold all night while it was an historical blizzard, according to meteorologists. Okay. And in this whole situation, and out this whole situation with the Alberts and the McCabe's and all that kind of stuff, and how they talked about how dear of a friend John was, they never went to his funeral. I don't know I don't even know that the Boston PD even went to his funeral, or if they did or not. If someone knows, let me know. But Brian Albert did not attend the funeral of John O'Keefe. And so here we are now. Here we are now. We have the second trial where this was a battle of the experts. This was a battle of trying to prove or disprove whether or not, beyond a reasonable doubt, that this was a collision that took place. And the defense did a very, very good job of making sure that that was not the case. All right. Alan Jackson, David Yannetti, Bob Alessi, like they were, I forgot the young lady's name that's also on there. I believe she was a part of the trial before the first trial, and then she was on the defense team. It was very, very interesting stuff. Chill said that's crazy. He was a fellow officer and you don't attend the funeral. Suspect, if you ask me. Absolutely. Very, very suspect. Very, very suspect. He was feeling the music as well, for sure, 100%. But yeah, it's very, very sus. And I believe that this is a case where this investigation needs to be reopened. Period. You have a fellow officer who has now, this case has now become a case of, okay, who killed John O'Keefe? Who murdered John O'Keefe? I mean, according to these autopsy photos that I do have, that we have talked about before, but according to these photos, how can you say to yourself, how can you fix your mouth to say, you know what, all of this happened with a rear tail light? And then come to find out during the trial, during cross-examination on a lot of this, the video of the vehicle being picked up after they said she hit John O'Keefe shows a full tail light and just a cracked side piece of the light, because when she backed out of John's garage, the video shows that she clipped his vehicle in some type of way, and it was a minor clip on the side tail light of her vehicle, of the rear passenger vehicle. And you see in the video, they did a close-up of the tire of John O'Keefe's vehicle that was sitting there parked, and it nudged a little bit. Now, all of this is supposed to, now, by this time, she had already supposed to have hit him with this tail light. Drives off, and you can see from the camera a full tail light that's bright red. And then here it is. The next morning, there's a tail light on the vehicle. There's an officer who was assigned to escort the Canton PD to the vehicle to pick up the vehicle. He testified and said that he saw a full tail light, that the tail light was not cracked. It was not busted open like they said it was when they took it to the Sally port. We're gonna get into this, man. We're gonna get into this, but I believe in my whole heart of hearts, man. I believe that John O'Keefe deserves, this whole case deserves another investigation. And I did put a poll up on the channel, and I would love to know what you guys think about this, because I want to make sure that we kind of go through this together. All right. I do have, right. See here, so far 100% of the people saying the FBI should investigate this entire situation with John O'Keefe. I totally agree 100%. I totally agree 100%. If you are watching Tay-Biz TV, go ahead, hit the like button. Go ahead and share and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. Biz Nation, please stand up. We are about to get ready and get started. First, we're going to do is we're going to take another look at the verdict. We are excited about this verdict, but we also want to look at what happened moments after the verdict. There was an interview with Turtle Boy, a real quick one on the side of the street. There was another interview with Karen Reed's father. Okay. There was also an interview with there was a juror in the first trial, did an interview on News Nation. And I mean, I can't wait to see that. We're going to check that out. And also there is the interview of juror number 4. The gentleman's name is Jason. I don't have a last name. His name is Jason, and he was interviewed by TMZ. I do have the full link. In the description of the channel. But this was a interview that he did where he said, look, I thought she was completely innocent. It wasn't about beyond reasonable doubt for me. It was complete innocence. All right. So we definitely want to go ahead and first we're going to go ahead and look at the verdict, and then we're going to go ahead and take a look at Karen Reed's father's interview afterwards. It was a very very heartfelt interview, and I didn't get a chance to see it all, so I want to see it with you all. You know what I mean? I wanted to go ahead and do this with Biz Nation. All right, let's go ahead and get started. But before we do, let's go ahead and introduce this real quick. Let's go. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and look at the verdict real quick, and then we're going to go ahead and get started with Karen Reed's father's interview. Let's go.
Will the deliberating jurors remain standing? Defendant remains standing. All of the parties may be seated.
Your Honor, may the record reflect that 12 deliberating jurors and 6 alternates are present?
Yes.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman, members of the jury, have you agreed upon a verdict?
Yes.
Thank you. May I see the papers? Mr. Foreman, have the verdict slips been placed in this envelope and have they been in your presence ever since?
Yes.
Yeah, man, looking like I can't believe this. I tried to do everything I could to sabotage.
Mr. Foreman, on docket number 2282CR117001, murder in the second degree, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar guilty or not guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you? No.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Do all of you agree?
Yes.
Thank you. 002, what say you? Is the defendant at the bar not guilty or guilty?
Not guilty.
Of.
Is not guilty or guilty about that charge or any lesser included charge? Thank you. Specifically number 5,
Wow.
operating under the influence of liquor by operating a motor vehicle with a blood alcohol level of 0.08 or greater. Correct?
Yes.
So say you, Mr. Foreman?
Guilty.
So say you all?
Yes.
003, what say is the defendant at the bar leaving the scene after accident resulting in death, the defendant not guilty or guilty?
Not guilty.
So say you, Mr. Foreman? So say you all? Jurors, hearken your verdict as the court records that you upon your oath say the defendant on 001 is not guilty, on 002 is guilty of operating under the influence of liquor, and 003 not guilty. Thank you.
All right, jurors, everybody please be seated. Jurors, we thank you for your service. We're going to send you back. Your service is complete. I'd like to come back and talk to you for a little bit afterwards. So thank you very much.
All rise. Jurors, follow me.
What a moment, man. You hear the people in the background. The crowd is going crazy.
Karen Reed.
Not
Not yet.
Tony,
Hold on,
not yet.
hold on,
Not yet.
everyone. Karen Reed. Ms. Reed, can I have your attention? As required by statute, I must inform you that the records regarding the charges that you have been found not guilty will be sealed by the Commissioner of Probation by the court unless you notify the Commissioner of Probation in writing within 10 days that you do not want these records sealed. To request that these records not be sealed, you may use the Request Not to Seal form, which is posted on the trial court's website on mass.gov. I cannot accept the form here in court. You must submit it to the Commissioner of Probation at the address provided on the form. Please be aware that if the records regarding the charges which you have been found not guilty are sealed, you will be unable to access the sealed record of the not guilty dispositions or any other records regarding those charges. If you want copies of any documents regarding those charges before the records are sealed, you should request copies from the court within 10 days. Do you understand? Thank you.
All right, so we need a date for sentencing. Can we do it next week?
Did you see how quick Bev was on the sentencing piece? Dang, man.
We would be prepared to go forward today.
Okay. Okay.
So they did a quick sidebar. We all know about that. And so, interestingly enough, because she has no priors, everybody pretty much knew she was going to get probation. At least I knew for sure. And I know a lot of people knew that, you know, that this is about the best you're going to do. This is $1 million. Again, the Commonwealth spent $1 million, I believe, up to that much money just to get an OUI, man. That's it. And that's all. Just an OUI. None of the superior charges was charged upon her, was she convicted of. None of them.
And Eddie, you ready to go forward today as well?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mr. Brennan, what's the Commonwealth's recommendation?
Your Honor, the Commonwealth moves for sentencing. We recommend a probation 1 year 24D program.
So the standard that everybody else gets on their first time OUI?
Certainly.
Okay.
We ask that you be treated no differently, no better.
So I'm happy to do it.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
1 year probation, 1 year probation on docket number 002, the lesser included offense of operating under the influence. 1 year probation. Thank you.
1 year
24D program. Thank you.
Immediately. All right.
Goodbye.
Yo, that wasn't Trakisha, shout out to you. I appreciate you coming through to Tabiz TV and watching with us. This was an amazing time, an amazing day for real, because again, we knew, we all knew that this was going to be this was like an insult. This is like a insult your intelligence type of a case to me. You know what I mean? Like, how do you think that you are going? How do you think that this tail light did all this damage that was done to John O'Keefe? How did you figure that? What, you sprinkle some evidence somewhere and you did some stuff, and now all of a sudden you have a case on your hand. The first case, you definitely the first trial, you definitely, you know, screwed the pooch on that. You got a hung jury. You retried the case. It was worth up to $1 million collectively, up to $1 million, and you get an OUI. All right. Now, again, this is moments after the verdict on yesterday. And I want to go ahead and let's take a look at this here. This is Karen Reed's father speaking out after this particular verdict here. Again, he, from the first day of the first trial until the last day of the second trial, the man been in court with his daughter every single day, did whatever he had to do to help support her, not only just emotionally, but also financially, to guide her through whatever it is that she needed guidance through in order to get through this. So this right here was just a moment where you see a father talking about what's going on here. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at this real quick, man. Let's go.
Feeling very elated, grateful to God for this ending. It's been a long 3.5 years. Long time coming, but while we've seen the worst in humanity over the last 3.5 years with the corruption, we've also seen the best in mankind, particularly the women. so many women out there, standouts at the courthouse over this week, in the hundreds. I know state police estimated there were about 3,000 people there today. And so many women identify with Karen because at some point in their lives, you know, they have been objectified and dehumanized or victimized in some way or another. And you know, with Karen, they see that strength and that courage to fight against the government that has, you know, unlimited resources. And so it's been a great win for us.
Yeah, I gotta check it. I gotta check that video out.
You know, Karen's incredible fight, fortitude, strength, and willingness to persevere and not give in. And, you know, she assembled a remarkable team of talented and passionate attorneys. David Yannetti was our first on board, then Alan Jackson and Liza Little from LA, and more recently, Bob Alessi. So we're just blessed to have this dream team of attorneys fighting for us. And I think a lot of that passion on their part, that expertise that was unshakable that they brought to the courtroom was because they knew Karen was factually innocent.
There you go.
That was, we're very fortunate. I mean, other folks who may find themselves in the throes of law enforcement and be factually innocent themselves may not have that fortune or good blessing to have this type of attorneys and this part of, you know, this immensity of support out there. Again, just the people who have turned out in support for us is just very gratifying and heartwarming. And at a time in my life over the last 3 years, I've lost a lot of respect for what goes on in some of these communities. So I'll leave it at that.
How has it been? You talked about,
In other words, F the police.
struggles. I'm sure it's been a very tough time. It's 4 years that you and Karen and the family have been fighting. How has it been to fight the accusations, to have to fight that despite knowing what you and the family felt was true and the defense team? How has that been for you and the family?
The accusations really didn't trouble us. I drove that Karen's vehicle home that day. It was parked right here when it was seized by Michael Proctor, the now fired and disgraced Michael Proctor of the Massachusetts State Police. I know the condition of that taillight, and I know that the injuries to John O'Keefe, including those dog bites, were not the result of Karen Reed's vehicle backing into him. I drove it home, and that's no.
Will you look at this? Will you look at this? The man drove the vehicle to his own house. You know, this is the first time I'm listening to Dad here. Okay. The man drove the vehicle himself. He knew that there was no taillight, and then no taillight damage at all, not significant damage like they're trying to portray. And then all of a sudden, there's an officer of the law who has no dog in the fight. No dog in the fight. Don't know the Alberts. He don't know the McCabe's. He don't know the Reeds. He don't know anybody. He doesn't know any. All he knew was this vehicle needed to be seized because it is a part of evidence because of an officer that died due to being hit by a vehicle. That's all he knew. I'm escorting the Ken PD to come pick up the vehicle because that's procedure. That's all he doing is following procedure. And Officer Barrows, and he does not see damage to the taillight. So his confirmation goes right with the dad. The dad right here says, I drove the car. I know for a fact that the car was just fine because I drove it. And the officer is like, you drove it and I saw nothing wrong with it, basically. Now, Hank Brennan tried to cross examined the officer talking about his memory and all this kind of stuff and everything. He did the same thing to all the witnesses of the defense. He went to go to discredit them instead of trying to discredit the actual evidence of the case. He ran the case, in my humble observation, he ran this case like a defense attorney, which at heart he is. Even though he's cut his teeth in the prosecution, he has been a criminal defense attorney way longer than a prosecutor. He ran that prosecution like a defense attorney. He omitted everything that could exonerate Karen Reed, which is not having the Alberts on the stand. Not, you know what I'm saying? None of the Alberts hit the stand the second time. Okay. So this right here is very, very interesting that he is saying, the dad here is saying, I drove the vehicle, therefore I know for a fact that nothing was wrong with it. So right then and there, he already knew my daughter didn't do none of what they're talking about. That is what's up.
Snowstorm. So when you've got that belief and assurance that your loved one is factually innocent, then you've got to fight with everything you've got to see this through to a just ending. And there have been times it's very, very difficult because law enforcement and the government has unlimited resources through their ability to tax people. And
did it feel, so are you saying, did it feel to you like it was you against this entity that you guys were fighting, you and Karen and the family?
Well, there's no doubt about it. The law enforcement has power, and it's difficult to put down that power. But I think so many folks saw this situation for what it was, a setup, a frame up, and push back. And when society pushes back and you get courageous men and women who are willing to take a stand, a case in point would be Officer Nick Barrows, who was brought here on that Saturday and testified in court that the condition of that taillight was not as what was shown to him in court in the Sally Port of the Canton Police Department. So that's just one example. And, you look at the Department of Justice was involved in this case from the early on. They were the ones who hired the ACCA scientists. And it was those scientists that determined the injuries to John O'Keefe were not the result of being struck by Karen Reed's vehicle, or that Karen Reed's vehicle, the damage to it, all right, was the product of being struck by a 216-pound, 6'1" man. And yet, even with that type of strong, objective, independent evidence, truly, they were hired by the Department of Defense, U.S. Attorney here in Massachusetts. They also provided us with the text of Michael Proctor. Without that, much of this might not have come to light.
Sure.
The idea that he's been fired from the Massachusetts State Police, the lead detective on this case, fired for his conduct, his bias in this specific case. And, that's something, that's remarkable. So there are some strong people out there, and some, all right, we're so, grateful to them all. Prayers, all right, from so many.
What, in all these 4 years that you've been going through this ordeal, what has held your family together? Where has found, obviously Karen has had you as support, but how has the family come together? How hard has it been for the family?
Well, we're very mindful of our finite presence here on this earth. So, we are churchgoers, we're Roman Catholics, we're believers in Jesus Christ, his mother, and we are dedicated followers of the church, and we pray daily. And if you don't have that, there's something, that is very difficult then to come to grips with things. So we just continued to believe that God Almighty would see us through this. And he has, as you can see. I mean, this is a very glorious day for us in this family.
Overall, I know I spoke to your wife, Karen. How are you all feeling today after
Elated. I mean, for the last 3+ years I've been in this house, knowing the unlimited reach of the government, and always you hear a door shut, right? You hear a horn, you go to your window because you never know, all right, the next step they're apt to take. And so there's relief. It's finality to it all. And I thank so many hundreds of thousands of people who have come and said prayers for us, sent us texts, letters, flowers. Just so gratified. Again, I've seen the worst in mankind over the last 3.5 years, but I've seen the best in humanity.
Yes, absolutely. I'm sure. Today, Karen said, in one of the things she said is that no one has fought harder for justice for John than she has. Would you be able to comment on that, on what she feels at and how she's been fighting for justice to find the real person?
Well, it's certainly not the task of this family, nor for Karen. I mean, for the idea that Karen fought back against these charges and fought vehemently and strongly, and we went into debt. She sold her house. She lost 2 jobs, Fidelity and at Bentley University, where she was an adjunct. Cashed out her 401. She fought to liberate herself, to free herself, and in so doing, freeing herself, essentially cast a light on, well, what happened then if it's not her? Don't forget, she's now been freed, all right? Even though the first trial, because the decision of the jury was not made public, twice she's been found not guilty of murder. And so, these jurors had been at it for hours in their deliberations and weeks listening to testimony. And so, it's when she says she's fought for John O'Keefe, she's fought for her own freedom and getting back her name. And in so doing, it's opened up the eyes of those in the media and just casual observers. Why is she fighting so hard? She could take a plea, but she refused to ever take a plea for something she did not do.
Was there any?
Man, on this channel, I have always said that. I have always said, do not take a plea deal for something that you did not do, or do not admit to something that you did wrong. Don't even look like you are suspected of anything wrong if you know you didn't do anything wrong. There's no reason for you to act in anxiety. There's no reason for you to be nervous or have nervous laughters or nervous tics or anything like that. If you're innocent, you know you're innocent. You don't have any nervousness, because that's the fight in you. That's how you're going to fight back. And fighting back this case shed light on the corruption, that is going on, not just in Boston, Massachusetts, or not just in Canton, but all over this country. All over this country. The Commonwealth needs an overhaul. This entire system needs an overhaul. Just the idea that if you're on a trial, that 12 people with no legal background can decide your fate, that process alone doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. We've been doing this system. We have been in this system so long, they had tried to make it make sense to us, and we had to abide by it because there is law backed up to it. But 12 people selected to decide the fate of a person. They have no legal background. They have no legal education. All they could do was look at the evidence. They can't do any research. They can't do anything else. They can't talk amongst themselves about the case. They cannot have any consultation from the lawyers, from the judge, from anybody. It's like a blind, it's like, hey, you're going in blind. That is who they choose, and be like, okay, well, you guys decide if this person is guilty or not. And then whatever you decide, I'll make sure I sentence them. Like, that is the system we live in. And because it's a part of the American system, we think it's okay. But in actuality, this is a terrible way to be. This is a terrible way to be. You have to rely on if people have just a little bit of common sense in certain areas. You know, you have to rely on this process. And it's not an easy process to rely on. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that he said that, like, you fought because you're going to fight all the way through because you know that you did not do something, then that is why you are going to sell your house. That's why you lose your jobs, because you know in your heart of hearts, I did not do this. Y'all know that I didn't do it. You all know this, but you're going to pin it on me anyway because you're really covering up for Brian Albert. You're covering up for Brian Higgins, especially Brian Higgins. You're covering up. All right. So yeah, I like exactly what Dad said right here, man. He said a mouthful right there with that one.
Ever any doubt?
Never.
In the family?
Never. Karen would have been the first to say to me, and I was with her at that hospital in the morning, if she had done something wrong, she would have said, Dad, I'll take my medicine. Never. There's never been any doubt. Karen Reed is factually innocent. All right. She was found not guilty, but I will tell you, she's factually innocent. Look at the body. Look at the wounds or lack of wounds, aside from the abrasions, all right, from an animal, from a dog to his right arm, and to the deep laceration on the back of his head. Look at there's nothing else. There's no bruises, broken bones, torn ligaments. If he was struck by a 6,000-pound SUV, which my daughter was driving, you'd see something below the knees, in the torso, around the chest. I mean, we're all reasonable people. Just look. You're out of Rhode Island, WJAR. You're former Rhode Island medical examiner, state medical examiner, Dr. Elizabeth LaPosada, I hope I'm saying that correctly, came and testified. And she said those injuries were not consistent with getting hit by a car. So, it's when you look at the physics, the science as provided by ACCA, and then you look at the medical testimony and the medical evidence, whether it be from Dr. Elizabeth Posada or from the state of Massachusetts' own medical examiner, Dr. Scotty Bello. She said, all right, that she could not conclude that he wasn't hit by a car. In other words, it's possible. And the abrasions to the arm. And so much so, she could not conclude the manner of death. She could not conclude it was homicide. So, I mean, the evidence is overwhelming, compelling, but still it took us 3.5 years and 2 trials.
That's crazy.
Maybe last question for me, how is Karen feeling?
Elated.
What is the spirit? What is the spirit?
Elated. And also her attorneys. I mean, this was their fight too. I mean, the hours they put in, people see Bob Alessi or Alan Jackson doing a cross. That cross, all right, an order of proof has to be developed over several days. You just can't go in cold. You have to develop that. And same thing with the summation. Alan Jackson's summation, which so many people remarked on, all right, was just, so much on the point. I mean, hours. I know he went through multiple iterations. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Does the family want, because I know Karen said she wants justice for John. Does the family want the case reopened to figure out what happened here?
We don't have that power to even, make that wish. We just don't. They have had the resources, to look at this case over the last 3.5 years, given they knew the evidence from ACCA, they knew the evidence from the medical experts, they knew the public, all right, was upset. Overwhelmingly, the public overwhelmingly upset about what was going on here. Well, they've always had the resources to look at it. So it's, you know, what they choose to do, they'll do. And if they don't, you know, it's now been 3.5 years. How much of that evidence has been destroyed? Who knows? So,
would it be something that she would advocate for?
We just want our lives back. She's got her life back. She's, as she made a statement outside of the court today, I don't know if you were out there. It was incredible, wasn't it? By her fighting for her freedom, fighting for her factual innocence through multiple hearings over the last 3.5 years, 2 trials. That was her, if you will, her statement that not only am I factually innocent and I am being wrongfully accused and charged here, but other eyes need to be brought on this to look at this. So,
last question, I'll let you go because I know you guys covered a lot already. Getting her life back, what does that even look like now?
I don't think our lives will ever be the same. You know, I mean, this case started off, it was once a time we had trouble generating media interest in this, and now
what up, though? No one appreciate you, man.
A national, if not international, sensation. And why? Why? Is it because there's a Hollywood attorney involved, a relatively young, successful woman?
Appreciate it, man.
It's because of, all right, all of the dynamics associated with that. What happened? All right, a cop lost his life, found on the lawn of another cop. All right, and you've seen much of the testimony, and then alleged cover-up, corruption, has all of the facets for something that's so intriguing as well as alarming.
Yo, that's Karen Reed's father. Yo, first of all, let's just shout out Karen Reed's father real quick, man. That was just nothing but love right there for real. That was nothing but love right there for real. So I want to point out the fact that he kept saying about factual innocence. You know what I'm saying? Factual innocence. Factual innocence is super, super, super important to what it is that she was fighting for. You know what I'm saying? Like, the evidence did not in any way show anything about a vehicle, 6,000-pound vehicle, hitting John O'Keefe. There's nothing that suggests that a vehicle of that size hit John O'Keefe. Okay, nothing suggests that. Factual innocence. Someone else thought that she was innocent. Juror number 4. Juror number 4 says, hey, man, skip the reasonable doubt part. I thought she was just innocent, period. The fact of the matter is, I didn't see anything evidence-wise that showed anything related to a car hitting her, hitting John O'Keefe, a tail light hitting him. Nothing in the evidence, even in the data, that like that Hank Brennan, the data, nothing in the data states that she even hit John O'Keefe in proximity. All right. The 3-point turn method was totally boo-boo. It did not add up. It did not measure up at all. The Apple Health data was way more accurate. The force lock on the phone of John O'Keefe. How can he be force locked if the time is going to be that the time that they said it was? How can he force lock his own vehicle, his own phone, when he's already received a 2-inch laceration in the back of his head and he has a hematoma? And that's what Hank Brennan didn't know how to talk. Hematoma. A hematoma hit on the right eye. I mean, This is coming from a fight. You ever seen a boxing fight? Yeah. Has anybody ever seen boxing fight? And if you know the dater. No one, the dater, man. If you ever seen a fight, a boxing match, just with a glove, just with a boxing glove, if you jab the right eye consistently over and over and over again, it will swell. It can create a hematoma. It can also create a laceration. Just with boxing gloves, okay? Imagine getting hit in the face with a bare knuckle by allegedly by police officers who have a stature, okay, who are some big fella. I'm a big fella too, all right? So I'm talking about a big fella who know how to punt, who's been trained to put you down, okay? An ATF agent, by the way. A former police officer who also is known to be a fighter and a boxer. Just imagine one of those type of dudes coming at you and you're already drunk. You so drunk you ain't even driving that night. You've been riding with your girl. Okay? MMA trained and you get hit in the eye bare knuckle by just one of those dudes. Try two. Try getting hit so hard that you fall down and hit your head on something that's in the area of where you're getting hit at. Let's just say, for instance, that happens. What are you going to do? How are you going to be able to retaliate that way? You won't. You got bruises in your eye. You have the raccoon eyes where the blood is rushing to that area. You got bruises on your hands, not just from the hospital, but also because you probably was trying to defend yourself. Abrasions and things on your right arm look like teeth marks of an animal, i.e. a dog, right? This is what's happening right now. And you mean to tell me a tail light was able to do all of that? You don't even need science. That's just common sense. This is just common sense. Need to remind us, okay, real quick. I just want to remind us real quick. All right. And please, if you are squeamish, if you have an issue with seeing someone injured, please go away for about 2 or 3 minutes and come right back. Okay. Because I must show you what I'm talking about here. Is this is what we're looking at. This is the autopsy of John O'Keefe. Look at this. Blunt impact injuries of the head, hypothermia. Well, they debunked the hypothermia part too with Dr. Laposada. But these are the marks, the scrapes. Look at this, 2 inches. And that's going beyond the dermis here. Bruising. Look at Dr. Scortibello opined from her examination that the significant blunt force trauma injuries occurred prior. They occurred prior to Mr. O'Keefe becoming hypothermic. What does prior mean? Somebody say buffo. Buffo. So even the examiner of the state of Massachusetts themselves said that prior to the hypothermia, these blunt force traumas had already occurred. Wait a minute. If that's the case, then that means when he was getting hit with the blunt force trauma injuries, that means he was in a place that was warm. You cannot tell me that this medical examiner, who is well more qualified than me, I'm an IT dude. Okay. I look at details for a living. My whole thing is detail oriented. Okay. IT is levels to IT. I'm an IT person. I consider myself to be somewhat intelligent. Scorty Bello opined from her examination that the significant blunt force trauma injuries occurred prior to Mr. O'Keefe becoming hypothermic, as evidenced by hemorrhaging in his pancreas and stomach. He was hemorrhaging in his pancreas and his stomach. Wait a minute. Wait. A vehicle did all of that. Just a vehicle did all of that, like from his arm, but he had no broken bones. Not one bone broken. Come on, fam. Come on now. Ridiculousness. All right, we're going to get into juror number 4, who agrees with Karen Reed's father. He agrees that this is no way in the world she's innocent. There's no way in the world she's not innocent. All right. So juror number 4, his name is Jason. He spoke out. I believe the interview happened earlier today. So let's take a look at this interview. Let's see what he's talking about. Let's go.
So I think for the jurors, there's a mix of some people think
on murder and manslaughter. Was it because they had reasonable doubt or because they thought she was innocent?
So I think for the jurors, there's a mix of some people think that she was definitely innocent, and the other people, there was a lot of reasonable doubt, at least to where we didn't want to convict her.
That's really interesting. So could you give me a breakdown there? Roughly what percentage of the jury felt she was innocent?
I mean, I can only speak for myself. I think that she was innocent. It's hard to tell exactly what people think deep down. There was a lot of things thrown at us, of evidence. So it's hard to tell what truly.
So you say in your head she was innocent. Does that mean you think she was framed by people inside that house?
It doesn't necessarily mean that. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened to John. Really, I was only presented a limited scope of what happened at the night, and I could only base my opinion off of the evidence that was shown in the courtroom. So I don't really know if there was a cover-up or not. I know that's the big conspiracy around it, but I don't really know. All I know is that there was a lot of holes in the investigation. Whether they were deliberate holes or not deliberate holes, it's kind of hard from me sitting back to know that, what actually happened.
So what was the feeling of the jury? Because Alan Jackson and the other lawyers raised the issue that she was framed by cops and that they would have turned that house upside down if they really wanted to do an honest investigation, and that he was not hit by a car. He was attacked in that house, bitten by a dog, and then put outside to frame her. Did people on the jury, or some of them, buy that argument?
I think some of them bought that argument. It's just hard to tell, though, because whether or not we think that there was malicious intent, we were only presented with the facts that they didn't go into the house. So, there's an example of reasonable doubt. So, like, there's other examples of reasonable doubt. So even if you want to completely buy into the theory or not, that wasn't what we were tasked with. We were tasked with finding, convicting, or deciding on this person's fate based on the proof and the evidence that the Commonwealth was able to present. And there was a lot of holes in the investigation.
A lot of holes in the investigation there, like Michael Proctor. Again, the defense was able to point out the fact that the glass that Proctor found, or the glass that Proctor found on the back of the vehicle, did not match anything. except for that piece of glass only matched what Proctor found. But there was nothing that matched the taillight. Nothing else matched the taillight. Only what Proctor found. Okay. And on top of that, the defense was able to just challenge the evidence of the collision. Did a collision happen? And we know factually a collision did not happen. First of all, her blood alcohol level was way over 0.08. It was like 20 something, right? Somebody help me out. Fact check me real quick, please. Wasn't her blood alcohol level like 23, 27, something crazy? You mean to tell me that she was able to reverse at 24 miles an hour in a blizzard, right? In the snow, backwards? She was able to drive backwards that whole time? No way. No way, no how. No way, no how. So they were able to actually go against what the Commonwealth, again, they did not want to put the Albert family on the stand. I don't think they could anyway. Everybody was lawyered up. So it was impossible. However, the Commonwealth did not want to do that. Neither did the defense. The defense went the route of getting the experts up there, getting somebody that was at the scene when he went to go get the vehicle after this alleged hit happened. Everything was going towards the fact that we're going to disprove the data. And also, we're going to redirect your attention to something. The night that they were at the waterfall and everybody was there, don't you see Brian Higgins pointing at John O'Keefe, telling him to come outside, telling him to having an issue with him because he was already texting Karen Reed. Karen Reed was playing a little bit. She played a little bit too much. Oh, you're wicked hot, wicked smart, right? You all these things, you feel me? And then all of a sudden, she like cold turkey you, and she show up with John O'Keefe, and you like, well, what? Well, what's going on with us? I thought we was about to pop off. She kissed me more than a friend. It was more than a friend, okay? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. Brian Higgins, man. This is juror number 4 right here, man, telling us how the jury was thinking. And a lot of them, some of them was like, yo, she's completely innocent. Others like, yo, it's too much doubt in the evidence, so that's the reason why I'm voting. You know, so let's continue.
Yet you went many steps beyond that because you say, in your view, she was innocent. What compels you to think that?
Well, one thing that I think that compels me is we did a lot of review of the tapes, and it seemed to me that the videos that we could see from the car after the alleged incident happened, that when we could see the taillight, it was lit up red where it shouldn't have been red. So that leaves to me a conclusion of, well, how come it's red in this video after the alleged, collision happened, and then it's not, it doesn't have any red pieces where it should be red.
So in other words, you do not believe that SUV made contact with John O'Keefe?
I don't believe that the SUV collided with John O'Keefe.
What was the initial vote with the jury when you first took your vote?
We didn't do an initial straw poll. The judge recommended to us in the courtroom that is not a good way to do it. We broke down, what we did is we broke down each charge, and we went from top to bottom and discussed everything thoroughly, and did our best to do right by the Karen Reed and the Commonwealth.
Was there a division initially?
Yeah, there was a division. But that's what we're there to deliberate and talk about all the evidence. There was 2 months of us sitting there, them throwing all this information at us absorbing the information, going home, thinking about it, reviewing it in our heads, not, And we get to the deliberations, and now we have an opportunity to discuss. Some people went into the deliberations and they were still unsure after two months, and that makes sense because there was a lot of things going on. There's a lot of information. How much can you weigh one thing or another thing over,
Yeah. What about jurors who felt initially she was guilty? Were there any of them?
Yeah, there were a few jurors that think that had thought that initially when they went into the deliberations, that was their standpoint, and that's what we were there to do, to talk through all that and bring up every single piece of evidence. Is there an
Shout out
angle
to
of
Prophet Chicago.
reasonable doubt to where we're not really sure? Like, are you really sure? Are you 100%, or are you 99.9%? If you're that 99%, we can't convict you.
What brought the ones who felt she was guilty over to the not guilty side? Was there anything in particular that seemed to resonate with them?
It's hard to tell from my position. You'd have to ask them about it. But in my opinion, I think it was just due to the poor investigation. There's just too many holes.
Too many.
And, it's hard to prove that the collision happened. So if there's reasonable doubt that happened, or that there may have been foul play, if there's room for that, then it's hard to come to a guilty verdict.
What happened when the jury initially said they had a verdict and then said, oops, no, we don't, and then 15 minutes later they
Good
said,
question.
oh, we do? What happened there?
That actually is kind of interesting. So the envelope, it was sealed and it's locked away. It'll never be looked at. But on everything on that initial slip was the same as the slip that was presented.
But why did they pull it back?
The pulling the back was for the OUI charge.
The driving under the influence, essentially, drunk driving.
Yes, driving under the influence. We in our deliberations, we had decided there was enough evidence and proof that she was driving under the influence.
Yeah, she said she did.
So, how did the defense do? How did the lawyers do, in your view? Her lawyers.
For her lawyers specifically, I think they all did. I think that all the lawyers on both sides did a really good job. They presented their case as well.
The police, you say the investigation was poor. The defense said it was more than poor. It was corrupt, and they pointed to the lead detective who had been fired, didn't testify in your trial. Did that have an impact? And did you think it was a corrupt police investigation?
What up, though, Abundance?
Do I think it was a corrupt police investigation? I don't know. There's no way for me to know. I can't.
What?
I wasn't there. There was just there was holes in the case that left for reasonable doubt. I think they could have checked some boxes or done some things differently. But do I know that they were corrupt? Absolutely not. I don't know that there was any corruption going on. But do I know that there wasn't enough proof or evidence secured by the police to convict Karen Reed? Absolutely not. There was not.
Fair to say that your view was that her SUV did not make contact with O'Keefe, therefore she did not kill him, but you don't know how he died.
I would say that's fair to say. I don't know how John O'Keefe died, and I do not believe that there was a collision between the SUV and John O'Keefe.
Did all of the hoopla around the case, the people outside, did it give you comfort in reaching a verdict like this, that you saw there was a community behind your point of view, or was it irrelevant?
Honestly, that made the pressure a lot harder, and it did not give me comfort. It made it a lot harder to block out everything and come to a decision.
Why did it make it harder?
It made it harder because all of the eyes are on us. We were told we're the most important people in the courtroom, and they keep us away from the crowds of people in the front of the courthouse. But we do
Crazy.
see them, and I don't think that having all those people swayed me to go either
Facts.
way. We were only tasked with looking at the evidence. We were 12 jurors. We had to back up how we felt in this for our decision, and we couldn't let any outside factors, her punishment. We couldn't factor any of that. We had to look at the evidence that was presented to us, absorb it,
You know what? This is almost over.
really understand it, and see if there's any reasonable doubt. And there was.
See if there's any reasonable doubt, and there definitely was. So that's juror number 4, and he's giving us the inside scoop of how the jury was deliberating. But it seems like this jury was a little bit more by the book. I'm getting that vibe. Like there was some by the book type stuff. Like some of them legit did not actually look at anything. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm kind of getting. He definitely seems like a guy that's like super by the book, right? If you ask me. And so, but you could tell like this jury was really trying to get the facts right. And I'm telling you something. I'm gonna tell you something real quick. This is one of the reasons why I forgot the young lady who was the IT witness. She had glasses on. She used pizza and a restaurant as an example of like data and then the data wall. Oh my God. She was the worst witness on the stand. It was ridiculous. She's like, think of data like a pizza. Like this file is a pizza. And then the data wall is like the restaurant. So the pizza goes into the oven, where the data wall is the oven or whatever. And then it's getting prepared here. It's like, ma'am, this one of the reasons why it's hard to get IT people to bring it down is because they like to sound smart. I have been in IT for over a decade. And in my career of IT, people I have gone into, and everybody knows this, when you go into a new place of business or a new job, and it's especially in IT, you're just trying to, you don't have to be retrained or retaught anything specifically. You're just trying to get a feel of how they process stuff, right? And you're just going in trying to figure out how they process things. And then once you figure out how they process some things and all that kind of stuff, then you get into your rhythm and you utilize your particular expertise with their process, and you just do your thing, but they're not teaching you how to, block a file or how to unblock a file. You already know how to do those nuances. And so when a person is trying to explain something very simple, but they utilize every humongous word they could think of, it's like, bruh, ma'am, sis, like you don't have to do this. Like we're in IT. I know exactly what you're talking about. I just need to know your process and things of that nature. When it comes to, okay, this is what we use for Intune for, this is Intra, and this is what we do this for, this, that. It's like, I get it. This is the cybersecurity. This is how we do, critical analysis. This is what we do a virus scan for, and this is what we do, and it's like, look, I understand completely. My resume is good. I get it. But at the same time, you could just dumb it down for the jurors just a little bit. And she was crazy. This case has given data forensics a bad rap. Is fact, Starfish, for real. That is a fact. Only because, data forensics is it's broad, really. It's really a broad thing. Like the difference between having an open tab and then having an open URL, the timestamps are different, like that type of thing. And it's like, what time did she search Haslam to die in code? Not what timestamp was the tab open. It doesn't matter. What was the actual URL timestamp? And again, you can get that in the metadata. It was just unbelievable. It was just super unbelievable. So this whole forensic data expert stuff is like, in this particular case, it was garbage. Because especially the blue paint theory. Oh my God, the blue paint method was stupid, dumb, stupid and dumb. First of all, you didn't do it thoroughly like ARCA did. ARCA gave you intervals of how many miles per hour backwards could do certain amount of damage at that particular mile per hour backwards. If you did it, if she went back 10 miles per hour, this is what it would look like if it hit John O'Keefe. If she went back 17 miles per hour, this is what it would look like if she hit John O'Keefe. If we go back, if she went backwards 24 miles per hour, this is what it would look like if it hit John O'Keefe. You see what I'm saying? He 2 miles backwards, 2 miles per hour backward, and then he leaned on it, and then he had all this blue paint on his arm. Oh man, the man was cosplaying, man. He put on what John O'Keefe had on. He put on his jeans, the shirt, the jacket. He tried to get the same type of jacket as John O'Keefe, the hat, everything. He tried to act like he was John O'Keefe, man. He leaned into that car at 2 miles per hour, and just off that lean, he could get all that blue paint on his arm. He was able to get all that. So that's how much damage would happen to your arm at 2 miles per hour. Sir, you have blue paint on you. You didn't get a laceration, abrasion, or nothing. Go ahead and really test it. Get hit 24 miles per hour backward by a vehicle going backwards. Exactly. How can a tab timestamp and then a search timestamp be the same? Exactly. URLs carry a certain data package because they go from hypertext protocols here. So you got secure ones, you got unsecure ones, and all this kind of stuff. How is it that you can misstep that? It doesn't make sense. Oh, so if I use a tab that's been open from yesterday and I search something today, you're going to go from yesterday's tab, or are you going to go from the timestamp of when I search something? Bad name. Here goes some more moments. All right. So we do understand that juror number 4 gave us some insight. There were some people that still thought she was guilty, but they leaned over to the not guilty side because it wasn't enough data. It wasn't enough data. All right. Let's check out what Turtle Boy had to say moments after the Karen Reed verdict came out. And I'm telling you, this right here, I mean, this guy right here, as much as a lot of people don't like him. A lot of people don't like him, and I get it. But this guy is the reason why most of us even know about this case for real. And so let's go ahead and take a look at what Turtle Boy had to say.
All right, so you've been very involved in this trial. To see the verdict today, what was your reaction?
It was emotional, man. It was just, it's something I've been dreaming about for a long time, and to actually live it, it hasn't set in yet what happened. It was just, I've been mentally preparing for this day for a long time, both the worst and the best. And I'm so happy that it was the best.
And how would you characterize what you've done for this trial?
I'd like to think I've shined a spotlight on it, you know, with my journalism and my activism with this. I've exposed several lies that the district attorney has, put out there. And like, for instance, speaking with Lucky Loughran, who was a major witness for the defense in this case, I interviewed him before the state police did. I found him. I found the plow driver who didn't see a body at 2:30 when he went by, who saw a Ford Edge. I found him when the state police couldn't. And 2 days later, they responded to my article by interviewing him themselves because they had no choice. So I like to think that, I put a spotlight on it. I made it sure that made it so that they couldn't hide what they were doing.
Now, in a lot of cases, a lot of high-profile cases, we haven't seen the social media outreach that we saw in this case. Do you feel that you're responsible in some way for the verdict today?
I think I had a little to do with the social media aspect of it. I don't know about the verdict because these are 12 impartial jurors who made this decision. But I'd like to think that some of the evidence that was presented to them in court was a result of my journalism and my influence and my activism online. And so in that regard, and just spreading the word about it, man. Like, I've been doing standouts. We put up billboards all over Norfolk County for Free Karen Reed. I made a video called Framed that's gotten over 1 million views. So it was almost impossible to live in Norfolk County and not know about this case. I spread awareness about it. I made it. They wanted this to be in the darkness. They did not want anyone to know what was going on in here, and I made that impossible for them.
Anything else you want to mention? I guess seeing the verdict out. Were you outside?
I was inside. I was in the courtroom.
In there. What was it like inside the courtroom?
The most emotional experience I've ever been a part of. It was like an emotional roller coaster. Just seeing Karen Reed and her team in there, how nervous they were. Alan Jackson pacing around like I've never seen him before. Like unknown, not knowing what was about to happen. It was crazy. And to finally hear not guilty, was just you realize, oh my God, it's over. Karen Reed is free. It's finally over.
Well, now there's the question though: who killed John O'Keefe?
I know who killed John O'Keefe. The people inside Brian Albert's house did. I don't know who exactly delivered the fatal blow, but Brian Albert was in there, Colin Albert was in there, Brian Higgins was in there, and the dog was in there. And quite frankly, every single person inside that house who has remained silent is just as guilty as the people who delivered the fatal blows to John. They did it.
Yo, he did not hold back at all, did he, fam? He did not hold back at all, okay? He did not hold back at all. He believes what we all believe. John was in the house. John was in the house. And I hope the people who watch this on replay, I hope this video, this live goes to the depths, because there should be an investigation of John O'Keefe, period. There needs to be an investigation in the murder of John O'Keefe. In the murder of John O'Keefe. Oh, my bad, y'all. There needs to be. 100% of you all, I'm looking at the poll right now, 100% of you all so far is saying that the FBI should do another investigation of John O'Keefe's murder. Go way past internal affairs. Just go straight to the FBI. As a matter of fact, I agree. I totally agree. Internal affairs is still local and state. So you have another set of eyes inside of the police departments and things like that. And a lot of times those organizations are already bought and paid for. You see? And so the only time internal affairs really get into it and really start doing their job for real is when the job is on the line, when the organization is on the line. When you messing up somebody's process, when you messing up somebody's dirty money, that's when you start seeing internal affairs doing some real stuff. But Canton Police? No. Boston Detective? No. Even though this is your officer who is laying on the lawn of another officer's house, outside in the cold, man. The man don't get up to go to the window or nothing. As a matter of fact, not even all the sirens and lights and things like that. The dog never said a word, never barked. Come on, man. This needs to be a federal investigation, not just in the murder of John O'Keefe, but also in the lack of efficiency in the Canton Police Department and in the Boston Police Department. There's nowhere in the world that Michael Proctor should have been the lead investigator or the case officer for this case, because he is too connected to the man who lives in the house where John O'Keefe was lying in front of his lawn at. There's absolutely no way. And the reason why I'm like this is because I have had, again, and I've said this plenty of times on this channel, I've had my own experience. And I'm telling you, it's dirty. They will make it so it will never be their fault. I'm telling you. They will make it so it's never their fault. Never. They will make it so. They will make it look like this is all your fault. They will. It could be something that the state did that they should have done, or something that the state didn't do that they should have done. And by the time it gets to you, you're still going to have to pay. You're still going to have to pay. When it's their fault. You did everything you were supposed to do. It's their fault. They will still try to make it seem like it's not their fault. Like Karen Reed's father said, they have the unlimited resource, the unlimited limbs to do whatever it is to get it off of them. To get it off of them. I want to go into real quick before we dip, because I want to go into I think Turtle Boy also had an interview with TMZ. And I want to get into that real quick if we can. All right. Turtle Boy also had a interview with TMZ. I believe it was today. If not today, last evening, but I think it was today as well. And let's go ahead and check this out real quick. This is Turtle Boy interview with TMZ. What up, Steph JK in the building? Shout out. What up, Doe? Let's go. Let's see what they talking about right here.
Aiden Carney, who is better known as Turtle Boy. He has become very prolific as one of her biggest champions in all of this. A lot of his work found with the Daily News. He joins us now to talk about it. Aiden, first off, your reaction.
I've been dreaming about this day for a long time when you've invested so much of yourself into one particular story and it's coming to an end. And I knew this day was going to come eventually. And, a lot swings on it. If you hear the word, if you don't hear the word not before guilty, it's just a horrible, depressing feeling. And I've thought about that too, but I've thought about how good it would feel if I heard the words not guilty, and I heard them 3 times, and it was just overjoyed with emotions and happiness for the Reed family and for her lawyers.
There are lots of cases in America. What drew you not only to this case, but to become so passionate and involved in it?
Well, it's a local story. So I'm from Worcester, Massachusetts, about an hour west of Boston. And I write a lot about, stories involving corruption in New England. I've broken a lot of major stories. I've been doing it for about 11 years. I used to be a high school teacher. I quit my job to do this. And this one, when it first happened in January of 2022, I looked into it at first. I saw a Boston police officer killed. That always gets your attention. But then I saw it was the girlfriend who accidentally did it, and it just seemed like a horrible accident. And so I really didn't have like a take on it. It honestly seemed like an open and shut case. They claimed there was ring camera video of it. I mean, what was I even going to say about that? And I honestly forgot the name Karen Reed. And then 15 months later, I read this thing about a Google search that appeared in a court filing that somebody in the House had made at 227 for how long to die in cold. And that kind of led me down the rabbit hole where I started reading all the court filings. And I saw the plethora of evidence showing that not only was Karen Reed undeniably innocent of this, but it appeared as if John O'Keefe went inside Brian Albert's house, was beaten up, killed, and then left on the lawn to make it look like Karen or someone else had done it. So,
okay, what did we read in the medical examination? Dr. Squirty Bello said what? That the blunt force trauma injuries that occurred to John O'Keefe happened prior to him becoming hypothermic, which means he couldn't have been outside. The reason why is because the evidence of his hemorrhaging came from his pancreas and his stomach. And also the fact that if you receive blunt force trauma, and what we saw earlier, the autopsy photos, when you look at them, and if you use just 5% of your common sense, it shows you how that this had to happen through contact. Again, I use the analogy of boxing. When you are jabbing and jabbing and jabbing the same eye, the same part of the body over and over again, with a certain amount of force, a certain amount of velocity, with just boxing gloves on, what happens is you begin to get puffy. Now, if I'm giving you power behind that punch, not only am I getting it puffy, but you might get a laceration above the eyelid. That's why the boxing corners have something called a cut man. The cut man is there just in case there's a laceration over the eye. He can stop the bleeding so that way the boxer can see. That's just in jabs with the gloves. Bare knuckle? Come on, man. Bare knuckle? So that means, again, John O'Keefe was already intoxicated. And then on top of that, he gets, let's say he gets hit allegedly. All right. And not only does he get hit by a big old dude that goes by the name of Hiram Biggins. All right. and Hiram Biggins punches this man repeatedly in the face. And then another guy by the name of Aaron Balbert allegedly holds this guy and gets him a couple licks in, and then next thing you know, he hit him so hard, he falls back. He falls back. And he hits his head. And whatever he hits his head on, the surface may be flat or it may not be flat. Because see, the thing about it is it goes deep. The laceration in the back of his head is so deep, it causes concussion. It causes the brain to be jarred, up inside of the cranium to the point where there's a basilar fracture. Okay. So whatever it is that he hit is causing all of this blood flow to come through. Said Steph JK said, right. Skin splits when you get punched. Yeah. Yeah. So if I can do this with boxing gloves, you could just imagine what I can do with my fists. And Biggins is a big boy. These ain't no small dudes we talking about. Brian Albert is not small. And he has been known to be a boxer, to be a fighter. He has had several filings against him for treating certain people and certain people that are being convicted or something or whatever you want to call them, people that's been arrested or whatever, stuff like that. There's plenty of filings where a person say, hey man, he kept hitting me while he was trying to detain me or whatever. He kept doing it. I mean, there are out there. They're out there, and then people acting like they don't have a clue about Brian Albert's history. Oh, buddy. This is not over, even though it's over for Karen Reed, and I'm happy for her, extremely happy for her. Because first of all, like her father said, we saw that earlier early in the video, in the live, her father said she's factually innocent. The juror number 4 said she was completely innocent to me too. All right, so we got that part. Now it's time to figure out who did it. The names must be named. Who did it? Step forward. Stop. Don't be a coward. Step forward, man. Let's go.
When I first read about it, I said, "Holy crap! I'm sitting on the story of the century here." And
yeah, but you
I
know what though? You were kind of half convincing. We spoke with a juror, Jason, who said, "Yeah, he believes she's innocent, but he wouldn't go that far and say, and also I believe she was framed and the people inside the house did it."
Mm-hmm.
I kind of found that interesting.
Yeah, I did too. And I think that says a lot about the defense's strategy in trial two. Perhaps if he had sat through trial one, he would have got a different impression, because trial one, they went heavy on the conspiracy angle.
Right.
They brought in all the McAlberts, Brian Higgins, they cross-examined them, they went heavy on them, they confronted them with their text messages. This new jury doesn't know much about, the prosecution never called any of the people who were inside the house besides Jennifer McCabe and Sarah Levinson. So they don't know that at 2:22 in the morning, Brian Higgins made a phone call to Brian Albert that he lied to the state grand jury about, and claimed that he butt dialed him, and that Brian Albert butt answered him while having sex with his wife to explain why they were talking on the phone at 2:22 in the morning. They didn't get into a lot of other elements of the conspiracy. They didn't push it that hard. The defense didn't even call their cell phone expert because they weren't even that concerned about the 227 search. The theme of this trial was John O'Keefe was not hit by a car. And that's it.
Yep.
If John O'Keefe's not hit by a car, then Kara Reed is innocent, because when they polled jurors last time, that was the general sentiment of the jurors, was this conspiracy. It was too much for them to believe. And it was an easier sell to just show them, look, Karen Reed didn't do it. And it's really not our job to prove who did do it.
So you were with Karen Reed at Mastro's last night for this big celebratory dinner. Take us inside the room. What was that like? What was she saying?
It was amazing in there. Just being Karen and Reed and I have had, a relationship where, they've come after both of us, and I've, been charged myself and done 60 days over this. And they've tried to link, my journalism has been so successful at getting this out that they've reframed it as witness intimidation, and they're trying to link Karen to me. And they tried to indict her last March on conspiracy to commit witness intimidation charges because she was friends with me. They took both of our phones. They saw how much time we spoke on the phone together. So we've had to lay low about our, partnership and working in this. So it was really good last night to be able to go there to take that picture with her, which Colin Albert had previously posted a very similar picture like that. And we had said years ago that when she's acquitted, we're going to post this picture right here with the same caption that Colin Albert used. But being in that room with Karen's parents, with her team of paralegals who are amazing people from BC and Harvard, and her 4 very talented attorneys, was an honor, and it was a privilege to be in there. And it was just felt like we were celebrating this thing that we all worked on together to get justice.
Speaking of partnership, are you working on a movie with her?
I don't know if Karen is going to be involved in that, but I have signed a deal with Compelling Pictures. They've been doing a documentary.
Okay.
Cook now. Let him cook.
I want to see it. I want to see it. Yes, sir. Hold on. Let's go back just a little bit. I likes that idea. I like it now. See, I like it now. See, now that you have actually won the case and everything like that, it's all good. All right. It's all love. You can talk as much as you want now. Still, just not too much, but just talk as much as you want. When you was on that first trial, you was talking too much, dog. Okay, but this time, I'm talking about Karen Reed, but this time, to talk as much as you want now, okay? You good. This is gonna be dope. Let's take a look.
Justice.
Speaking
let's take a look at this again.
Are you working on a movie with her?
I don't know if Karen is going to be involved in that, but I have signed a deal with Compelling Pictures. They've been doing a documentary. They've been following me around. It's kind of like the Karen Reed case through the eyes of Turtle Boy, how we started this, reporting on this and kind of blew it up into a phenomenon. And then we're going to be doing a movie after that. If Karen wants to get involved, her and I haven't had time to talk about anything about this. So we're going to have conversations moving forward about, what she wants to do, what I want to do. But as of right now, it hasn't even been 24 hours. So I would imagine her phone's blowing up. Obviously, I haven't had time to return many messages on my phone. So I can just imagine what it's like for her.
So my understanding is you're still facing those witness intimidation charges, right?
Yeah, we got a few of them knocked off. We got about 6 of them knocked off about a month ago. I'm still facing, I've lost count, I think 10 12, 13, I forget how many charges. It adds up to like 130 years in jail. I'll never do a day, but it's still having that over your head and being out on bail is, it's something you just want to get off your back. So I'm looking forward to tackling those charges after this.
So I would assume that Karen is going to be a witness for you in your trial, right? Because they did try to link you two in terms of what happened. So you were kind of there for her. She can be there for you in this?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. I think that one of the things that the prosecution is going to try to do is suggest that she's kind of like the puppet master behind all this, that I'm some unwitting fool who did all this witness intimidation for her to scare all the witnesses into her case into lying. That's not what I was doing. If you look at any of the tapes, everything I did on YouTube. I publicly put out there because there was nothing wrong with it. One of the things I've been indicted for is I went to a lacrosse game, a high school lacrosse game, because I knew Jennifer McCabe would be there. And I wanted to ask her a question. And I went up to her in the bleachers and I said, "Why did you Google how long to die in cold at 2:27 a.m.?" And Matt McCabe started pushing me and it turned into a scene. I ended up leaving. But, traditionally, that's what we used to call doing a journalism, when reporters went up to the subjects of their reporting and asked them tough questions that if it made them uncomfortable, oh, well, that's how it works. People can ask you questions in public. But in Massachusetts, they've weaponized this statute so that people like me are not allowed to go up to the Jennifer McCabe's of the world or the Brian Alberts of the world and ask them questions that make them feel uncomfortable because it's causing them what they call emotional harm. They actually testified in front of the grand jury that they felt sad as a result of what I did. So, and in Massachusetts, that's apparently a crime when the person is a witness. You can't make them sad.
Okay, Aiden. Well, listen, this was a momentous day.
That is Turtle Boy's interview. Another one, man. I'm telling you, man, this river runs deep, man. This river runs super deep. Again, this is an investigation that needs to happen, man. It needs to happen for sure. Let's take a look and see the polls again here. Look and see here. Yep, everybody's still saying the FBI. Everybody's still saying the FBI need to do an investigation, and they definitely do. This needs to be something that should not lie down easy. Okay, none of this should lie down easily. We all need to know what has happened, what happened, and who did it. John O'Keefe was an officer of the law. He's a brother in arms. He puts his life on the line just like any other officer. And this is something that needs to be done ASAP. And I would love to see an investigation be done on a federal level when it comes to this particular case, because you're not going to get the truth through the local level. You're not going to get the truth through the state level either. Okay. You're not going to get that truth. What you're going to do is get the same cycle of crap that we got when Michael Proctor was the investigator. So we need to get somebody that's going to really, on a federal level, look into this case. All right. I'm looking for, there's one particular video that I wanted to show before we get out of here. And I want us to take a look at this particular video here. It's about two minutes and some change, but basically it's about a local officer, a retired Canton police sergeant, 30 years on the force. His name is Peter Murphy, and Peter Murphy is a local hero and deserves recognition for standing up to the injustice. And he talked about this whole thing when it comes to the investigation process of the police department, and they didn't want to let him talk much. But I want to take a look at this real quick. I think what he said was spot on, and I want to highlight this real quick. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick.
Thank you. My name is Peter Murphy.
Okay, Peter Murphy. This is a Canton police audit, April 5th, 2025. This is a Canton Community Forum. All right. So he's speaking on behalf of the community. He's speaking as a community, a person that's in the community. All right. And I believe he's going to touch on investigative work. And yeah, let's just take a look at this.
I live in Marshfield, Mass, and I was a 30-year affiliate of the Canton Police Department. The last 22 years I spent as a sergeant. I believe I've met Brian and Matt up here, and also the other gentleman who was a state trooper at the library when they gave their proposal. We can agree, gentlemen, that we're cops, right? We know this business inside and out, 30 years, 30 years, 30 years. I guess I want to ask you a simple question. If it was your family member laying in the snow on that morning.
Okay, he going right into it. Peter going right into it, y'all. Let's look at this now.
30 years. I guess I want to ask you a simple question. If it was your family member laying in the snow on that morning and sometime after 6:06 a.m., the process of the investigation went ongoing and continued. I mean, there were no pictures taken. There was possible exigent circumstances where a protective sweep should have been done. Everybody on that department knows that Brian Albert was in a fugitive unit and a gang unit. There could have been multiple decedents or victims around the property or in the house. Nothing took place to assure that that victim on the ground was the only victim. And what I'd like to suggest is the crime scene became twofold, sir. It went from the ground into the ambulance, had a police officer, which I had to dispatch many times on crime scenes I was on, gone in that ambulance and witnessed clothing being cut and the marks on the right arm. It would have been pretty apparent to a Cub Scout that there was a lot going on there. And
he said it would have been apparent to a Cub Scout. The fact that the Commonwealth spent $1 million on this is absolutely baffling. He said even a Cub Scout would know that something else is going on. It's not coming from no tail light of no vehicle.
I was on, gone in that ambulance and witnessed clothing being cut and the marks on the right arm. It would have been pretty apparent to a Cub Scout that there was a lot going on there, and perhaps maybe a tail light didn't do that. Maybe it was some sort of another physical attack. Would you have been happy if it was your family member and satisfied with that investigation, or could that investigation concluded it was not Alexa's taillight and Karen Reed, is factually innocent?
I'm going to take that as more of a statement versus a question.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer because that's not a question. You just got on your soapbox and you made a statement. You assumed a lot of things that didn't happen. I don't know.
Okay, folks, we can't hear the answer if you're drowning out the speaker. Thank you.
Yeah, that's not a question, so I'm not going to answer it, especially when you're talking about an ongoing investigation.
Thank you. We'll go to microphone.
You see that? That's what they do, man. Shout out to Peter Murphy. Shout out to Peter Murphy, man. Shout out to Peter Murphy. But this is what they do. He basically, look, would you have been satisfied? Would you have been satisfied with this investigation if it was somebody that you were close to? That's not a soapbox. That's a legit question, because apparently this investigation of Michael Proctor was boo-boo. It was terrible. It's the worst thing we've seen in years. Okay. It's the worst thing we've seen in years. And now he has a 2020 interview. Oh, I can't wait to see this. I might actually see this tonight. Actually, I can't wait to see this, man. You know, but I wanted to highlight the moments after Karen Reed, and I wanted to go in a different direction. I ain't want to go into the Mickey Stein's transcript. We will get into that tomorrow. But I wanted to get into this because even moments after, Karen Reed's verdict, it's like a 2020 interview with juror number 4, interview with Turtle Boy, and then another interview with Turtle Boy. It's like, man, it's like going boom, 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 boom. Then Karen Reed's final interview. It's like, we want to hear what the people have to say that's been involved in this thing from like the boots on the ground perspective. And I'm telling you, I want to commend everybody who's been doing the boots on the ground work, especially Turtle Boy, who, again, he spearheaded this whole thing about how we have all been able to see this particular injustice. Again, this is why it's so hard for people to have faith in the judicial system, because we don't see the justice like we need to see it. It's not consistent. And a lot of times we know that if they want you to pay the price for it, you're going to pay the price for it. Okay. And so again, she's going to be on probation. Again, Karen Reed is on probation. It ain't over. Okay. It ain't over. I don't know how the probation process is when it comes to Massachusetts first offenders, but I know here in Indiana, you have to do random drops. All right. You have to take a DUI class, maybe more than one. You have to take a DUI class. You also have to take it's another class. It's called something about accidents, like maybe being able to cause an accident. It's a class like that. They make you watch a video, things of that nature. You have to call when I was on probation, I had to call a phone number. They gave me a code. I had to call this phone number, I had to put my code in the phone. And the phone number and the phone response would be, you are not scheduled to do a urine test today. And then that would be the fact. Then I know I don't have to do a urine test. I had to call this number every day for a year. What up, though, Sire? Shout out to my boy right here, man. Appreciate you, baby. Appreciate you coming through, man. And I had to do this every day. Now, again, it was the state's fault that I did not show up in court, and they knew it. And I still had to turn myself into jail. I still had to do all this. All right. I had to call this number every day. I don't know if Massachusetts have this. You got to call this number every day, and it's a random automated number. All right. I had to call it every day. And you put in the code, and then it tells you whether or not you have do a urine test. Then right in the middle of my probation, they switched it. Instead of me calling a number, they send a text out to you, an automated text, and it's random to let you know whether or not you need to take a urine sample, a urine test every day for a year, man. So you could take it. Sometimes it's every day. For some people, it was every day. For some people, it's once a week, but it's random days. You don't know when. They don't tell you when. It's a systematic thing. All right. Every day. So you got to make sure you do your classes, your DUI classes, whatever the case may be. You got to make sure that you're doing your urine test when they tell you to. And you have to make sure that you pay those probation fees, because them boys is expensive. Okay. So Karen Reed is free, but she's on probation. Okay. She's about to be on probation. I don't even know what type of sentence it's going to be for probation. Again, first offense. So it should not be heavy. If it's heavy, you know something's up, man. You know something up if it's a heavy sentence, because I'm telling you, you got some cats that have had 2, 3, 4 DUIs. They don't even have their license no more. All right. They can't even get their license at all. You know what I mean? So hopefully when the sentencing time come, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Judge Canoni said something about next week holding a sentence, a probation sentence, or whatever the case may be here for Karen Reed. And if we can see what's up with that, we'll definitely try to drop a video about that and see what she got. Again, it should not be a heavy sentence, probation sentence. Like, she'll get a year of probation. She won't do no jail time. We know that. but the nuances, like how much the probation fees are going to be, and you can pay them all at once too. So if you got bread, you can pay them all at once. I can almost guarantee that her probation fees gonna get paid up front, but you're still gonna have to do your drops, urine drops and things of that nature. And I'm not sure what kind of system they got. I don't know if it's random, where you have to do random drops or not, but that's exactly what I had to do when I was on probation, man. And I'm telling you, it ain't fun, man. You know, jail ain't cool. If anybody tell you it is, man, they crazy. If anybody believe that, they out their mind. Jail is not a place for a human to be. All right. And I've been in some humiliating situations that I cannot get out of my head to this day. To this day, I cannot get it out of my head, man. And so when you expose to certain things, man, it kind of changes your trajectory and your perspective of things, man. But shout out to everybody that came through, man, and that came through to hang out with the boys. Steph JK Starfish in the building, my boy Sire in the building from AV's channel, man. You dope, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you for coming through, man. Just checking out this little channel, man. And I appreciate everybody. I think I saw somebody else too earlier. My boy No One from Flesh of the Gods channel. I appreciate you coming through, my boy. Thank you all so much for your time. Tomorrow we will be live. We're going to finish out and read the transcript of Sean Mickey Steins. We got like almost halfway through. We are like at page 90, I believe. We're going to read the transcript because we want to try to find out if there's anything in this deposition that would cause another deposition to have to happen, and what would cause Sean Mickey Steins 3 days later to shoot the judge, Kevin Mullins, in his chambers. You don't want to miss tomorrow. All right, we're going to see what's going on. All right, we're going to do a recap tomorrow, and then we're going to get right into the transcript and see what's going on here, and then talk about the details here. Again, tomorrow is about Sean Mickey Stein's transcript of the deposition that he did September the 16th, 2024, 3 days before he shoots Judge Kevin Mullins in his chambers on camera 8 times. All right, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. This your boy Tate Biz, man. I appreciate you, Biz Nation. I'm out. Much love. Peace. If you want more content from Tate Biz TV, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell, man. Peace.